In just 2 hours, a kingdom that had stood for centuries was shattered. A young king, barely 20 years old, rode into battle with dreams of glory. But instead, he led his nation into disaster. This is the story of the Battle of Mohàcs in 1526. One of the most devastating defeats in European history, and a moment that changed Central Europe forever. Before we begin, if you love history and want to hear more epic stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and tell us in the comments which battle you'd like to see next. For centuries, the Kingdom of Hungary stood as a shield between Christian Europe and the rising power of the Ottoman Empire. But by the early 1500s, that shield had weakened. The nobles were rich but divided, the peasants poor and exhausted from uprisings, and the crown lacked the strength of its powerful neighbors. On the other side stood Suleiman the Magnificent, the most powerful ruler of his time. By 1526, his armies had conquered Belgrade and much of the Balkans. Now, his eyes turned toward Hungary. Hungary's ruler, King Louis II, was only 20 years old, brave, yes, but young and painfully inexperienced. His army numbered barely 30,000 men. Suleiman's force, nearly 100,000. Veterans, janissaries, cavalry, cannons. Still, Louis's nobles urged him to attack. They dreamed of glory, of honor, of repeating the victories of medieval knights. But they were marching into the jaws of death. On August 29, 1526, near the small town of Mohàcs, the Hungarians lined up for battle. The ground seemed perfect, wide, flat fields, ideal for cavalry charges. Louis and his commanders believed the terrain favored them, but Suleiman had chosen the battlefield himself. His troops were hidden in a crescent formation, his artillery was well placed, and his plan was already set. It was a trap. The battle began with thunder. Hungarian cavalry, the pride of the kingdom, charged forward, swords raised high, banners flying. They slammed into the Ottoman front lines. For a moment it seemed they might break through. Dust filled the air, cries of battle echoed across the plain. But then, the trap closed. The Ottoman wings swept inward, cannons roared, janissaries unleashed waves of musket fire. In minutes, the Hungarian knights were surrounded. What began as glory turned into slaughter. King Louis tried to flee the battlefield, but in the chaos, his horse stumbled into a swamp. The young king drowned, his body found days later. In less than 2 hours, Hungary had lost its king, its nobles, its army. 15,000 men lay dead at Mohàcs. This was not just a defeat. It was the end of an era. The consequences were catastrophic. Hungary was left defenseless. Within months, the Ottomans marched into Buda, the capital. The once proud kingdom was divided, one part ruled by the Ottomans, the other by the Austrian Habsburgs. For the next 150 years, Hungary ceased to exist as an independent nation. The people called it the nation's death knell. The Battle of Mohàcs was more than a military defeat. It was a story of arrogance, of division, and of one fatal mistake. A young king placed his faith in chivalry, while his enemy relied on patience, strategy, and discipline. And so, in just 2 hours, centuries of independence vanished. If you found this story fascinating, share your thoughts in the comments. Could Hungary have avoided this tragedy? And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more epic stories from history.